and I'm just waiting to see if people come in, and I do hope everybody is very, very well. Just going to wait while people do arrive in and say hello. Now you may be wondering, DB, what are you doing on a Tuesday? Well, there's a simple reason. My wife is, she's out, no, hello, DJ Mercy Moo. No, not really. It's just basically, I was just going to do a little bit of an experimentation for a simple reason. My wife, she's at her mother's, me with our eldest, my youngest lad. He's gone to work, and my daughter is heading off to sewing with my mum. So it's a case of I'm just going to be basically in the house on my own, on my Jack Jones. So I just thought I'd just do something a little bit different for a Tuesday, since I've got time on my hands, if you know what I mean. So it's nothing. So it's not exactly a Friday frolic. I just thought I'd do something a little bit more different, because for a simple reason, you know, I always like to experiment, don't you worry. Friday will always be the day for frolicking. But unfortunately, over the last couple of, over the weekend, clearly something has gone on, hasn't there, over in America. So I just thought we'd have a little bit of, watch a couple of clips here and there, and we'll have a chat about it, and one or two other stuff as well for an hour or two, possibly two. It depending on when my wife lets me know when she's coming home. Once she's in the home straight, then I'll be heading off, because for the simple reason, my wife will probably need a bit of help with the shopping, if you know what I mean. So anyway, let me just get myself all organised, and while we're just getting ourselves all sorted. But anyway, but how are you then, DJ Mercy Moo? And hope you're well. Hope you've had it's quite a nice day. As I say, normally I'll be tempted to be sat in the back garden. I possibly might do in a bit. But you know, once I've finished here, might spend an afternoon outside. But yes, just get myself all organised, and we're just basically waiting for people to you know, arrive as we norm, and see how things go. But you know what I'm thinking of doing was just doing a little bit about, you know, where we have a chat about the what's happened in LA, and what's happened there. It's just been absolutely mental, hasn't it? Because like let me just get myself some notes going. Yeah, so it's like, yes, it's like let's have a look at what basically happened since what would it, you know, it was it June the 9th when this all kicked off, you know, because they arrested over 100 people, and yeah, and protests began Friday night, if I remember rightly, and have continued even today, as far as I can tell. And the raids occurred in areas like, you know, LA's Fashion District and Home Depot parking lots. I bet that'd have been interesting, you know, when you're doing when you're doing some weekly shopping, and then it all kicks off. But you know, these ice raids, how many parts of the broader, it's like Homeland Security reported 2,000 immigration arrests per day recently, compared to, from what I can gather, 311 daily under the previous administration. Yeah, I fear that this is just the beginning. I can see martial law taking effect soon. You could very much. Hello, my friend Billy Kershaw. Yes, I love Tesla. Yes, I hope you're well, my friend. Yes, you may be wondering, why are you doing a live stream on a Tuesday? Let's say, I said earlier, I've got time on my hands, and I just need, and I'm just like my wife, she's with family with my eldest son, and my youngest son is working while our daughter, she's heading off sewing with my mum, so for a bit. So I just thought I'd spend a bit of time with you guys, and I just thought I'd do something a little bit different to what I normally do. But anyway, but yes, I'm doing a bit of sexy dancing with Mike as well. But yeah, but like I said, just got a couple of notes here, and I hope it settles down. I've got family going to Orlando in August. Ooh, I have to say, because like there is the Olympics and the World Cup, I certainly won't want to be going. Certainly not. I certainly would not want to be going. And if any of my family did go, I'd say take a burner phone and make sure none of my material are on, because you'll be sent off to Guantanamo Bay or El Salvador quick as a flash. But yeah, there's intensity of the response from what we've been gathering. This wasn't just about raids themselves. But it's basically what they represent in it, really, because like conducting large-scale operations in busy commercial areas like I say, the fashion district, like likely maximising both the number of people affected and the psychological impact on immigrant communities, and that's basically what it's for, really, to maximise the psychological impact. and it's basically there just to get their core base all absolutely frothing at the mouth. Hello, Dave Skelly. Hope you're doing, how are you doing, my friend? Hope you're well. Hope you're very, very well. And yeah, because like, let's be honest, LA, it has been described as it does have a large immigrant population, doesn't it? From what I can gather, if I remember rightly, it's called the City of Immigrants versus City of Criminals, from what I've been reading. Now, every time I hear Los Angeles, it always reminds me of a video I once watched. Have you ever heard of a band called 30 Seconds to Mars? They once did a really, really interesting video where they did a song called City of Angels, and it was quite interesting, especially the one part where a guy, he came over on a boat from Haiti, he said it wasn't exactly what he were hoping for, but it was, but there was all sorts of walks of life on that video. There was that clown from, I've forgotten his name now, whoop diddy scoop poop guy, I've forgotten his name now. Good evening, good afternoon, Gordon Hunter. Afternoon from Scotland. Just got car fixed. A wee day in the sun up here. Yes, it's like where I'm set. There's got the window here, and it looks really, really nice. Yeah. I've always had a lot of time for 30 Seconds to Mars. I always enjoyed the stuff. Yeah, and I was watching a live stream of the protest Sunday evening. One of the National Guard soldiers managed to eject the magazine, one of the rifle into the floor clatter. Oh, they just look absolutely mental at the moment. Good evening, good afternoon, Al Watson. Hope you're well. Good afternoon, Jerry Powell. Yes, bonjour. Hope you're well, my friend. But yeah, because like there is that significant symbolic significance, should I say? Because like the raids would be a part of Trump's broader mass deportation campaign, doesn't it? Promising to make LA a test case for federal immigration policy. Now, video I had this morning where talked to a guy, Mark Riley, and he said the only reason why they're doing that with LA is because for the simple reason himself and his base, they detest everything that represents Los Angeles. Hello, David McGuinness. If you've not subscribed to the two Davids, please do. They do fantastic stuff especially on Scottish immigration. They do really, really well. But as I said, what I'm basically doing with this live stream, I'm just doing a little bit of experimentation with how I do future ones. If it falls on its ass, it's no great shakes, is there? But I say what we'll be doing is I'm just waiting for one or two more people. But yeah, LA, the US version of Chris Dalinax. Sorry if I butcher it, because like my pins are not as good as what they used to be. Chris Dalinax. Sorry if I butchered that. Discuss. That's the first time I've ever heard that word. That's an interesting word and quite a mouthful. But yeah. So I was looking up for little things and why is he specifically LA become the flashpoint? And from what I could gather, now I could be wrong, but it seems that California has positioned itself as a bit of a sanctuary, jurisdiction restricting to federal immigration enforcement, and the state government's opposition created a direct federal-state confrontation. And LA's size and immigration population made it both a logical target and a place where resistance would be most visible. So interesting. The rapid escalation from protest to federal troop deployment suggests both sides saw this as a broader battle over immigration policy. Not sure that I'm totally on board with that. Hello, one inch punch bowl. It's down to the sheer number of Mexican citizens. Yeah, I think you could be onto something there. But rather than just a local law enforcement, is Trump still coming over to see Chick? Hopefully he'll come with the National Guards. But yeah, I found it fascinating that it all kicked off. But anyway, let's say I sort of like saw little bits of news. This is an interesting little headline. I've got this from Sky Sports, but just gives you a little insight of what's been going on. It's absolutely mental.
This is a city scarred by days of protest. In the heart of LA's downtown, inflamed tension and acts of violence. City Hall, the seat of local government, is just a few streets away. The Mexican flag has become a symbol of protest against deportations. Anger directed at ICE, the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency, after a series of raids.
This is where Donald Trump's immigration policies have ended up almost 5 months into his presidency. Pandemonium and lawlessness on the streets of one of America's biggest cities.
Protests were initially sparked by raids on workplaces across LA, a search to round up illegal immigrants. But here you see the arrest of David Huerta, a local Labour union leader who ICE say was interfering with their work.
We're here to say free David Huerta!
A peaceful demonstration today calling for his release. But the previous night, a different story, as violence and vandalism broke out across LA. This seemed to change the tide, the deployment of the National Guard at the behest of the president.
Projectiles are being thrown at the police officers, and in turn, they're deploying these rubber bullets and tear gas. The California Governor Gavin Newsom says that this chaos is exactly what President Trump wants.
And I agree. It's because I've got a little bit more about this, and I think he knows exactly what he wants this, and like as Mark rightly said, he's onto a winner here because he'll paint himself as the hero, and the base will love it, won't they?
Newsom argued the president breached state sovereignty by ordering troops here against his wishes. Trump described LA as an invaded and occupied city.
He's an incompetent governor. Look at the job he's doing in California. He's destroying one of our great states. And if I didn't get involved, if we didn't bring the Guard in, and we would bring more in if we needed it, because we have to make sure there's going to be law and order. You had a disaster happening.
Politicians on both sides of the aisle condemned the disorder. This woman was one of a number arrested. Why are you here today?
Because a lot of my people are getting taken away. We've lived here all our lives, and it's like, how are you going to send us back to a place where we don't even know? You told us to come here for opportunity. We came, and it's like, I don't know, what do we do from here?
They shot me in the leg with a rubber bullet. They hit me in the head. If you can see under my hair, there's bruising.
This is the most significant pushback yet against Donald Trump's immigration policy. One of the key arteries of this city, the main road in downtown Los Angeles, completely closed as police encircle protesters.
The president said that any violence which impeded officials would be treated as a form of rebellion. The White House crackdown on immigration has definitely been divisive. The fight back here clearly bringing some together.
Yeah, absolutely mental. I would say I wouldn't want to go anywhere near the World Cup or the Olympic Games. Are they both this year? I would not go anywhere near. Yeah, absolutely, 1-inch punch ball straight out of the Nazi party playbook. See, they can try and distance themselves from the rights that have happened, but let's be honest, they have what you would say, they've instigated it, haven't they? Hello, Walters. Afternoon, DB. You torturing yourself again when you could be drinking heavily? No, not the tubes. No, like as I say, the simple reason why I'm just doing this is because my wife is with her family, with me eldest lad, and me youngest son's at work, and my daughter is heading off to Solon with my mum at the community centre, so I have the whole house to myself. So I just decided to basically just keep myself, occupied, keep my mind, and I thought I would set up a bit of a live stream. I just wanted to experiment, see if I could, because I'd had this idea in my head whether it'll work or not, and if it did, then I can make minor improvements here and there. If it doesn't, then it's nothing ventured, nothing gained, is there? But good afternoon, Lol Waters. But yeah, he's basically, he knows exactly what he's basically pushing for this, isn't he? Yeah, love to you, my dear friend. I'm supposed to be cutting the grass. This is much better. Well, I suppose that you've got the weather for it, haven't you? But as I say, I've watched with avid interest, and I won't want to. It more than puts me off from going anywhere near America now. Anywhere near America, it's because it looks scary over there, doesn't it? Absolutely scary. Because he knows exactly what he's doing over there, and he like as I say, he's basically, you could say he's picked LA for basically for strategic reasons. It has to be politically, because I get the feeling the strategic, I suppose is LA appears to be a deliberate choice to test federal authority against resistant state governments, and it's also political theatre as well. Trump attacks what he called radical left protests by instigators and often paid troublemakers. and this frames the situation as partisan rather than humanitarian, doesn't it? And I think there's also the 2028 implication, because whether we like whether I have any time for Gavin Newsom or not, or anybody else, is immaterial in it. They seem to think he is likely to be the 2028 presidential candidate. So I think this could possibly serve Trump in a long-term political interest. Now, from what I could gather, the Gavin Newsom, they basically are challenging this federal authority. And if I remember rightly, they are going to try and sue the Trump administration. And he's basically called this sort of like power play, you could say, as authoritarian, which is not wrong, is he, really? And I suppose in a way he's basically casting himself as defender of constitutional principles in a way. So I suppose in both ways they're doing a little bit of political positioning for the future. But from what I've gathered, now if I could be wrong, just let me know. But because it seems to be changing a lot, that it seems to be he's decided to deploy at least 2,000 National Guard troops to LA, warning if escalation tensions already heightened by immigration raids across the city. And I get the feeling that he knows that however it ends, he will be on to a winner, doesn't he? And there's also ongoing enforcement plans as well, from what I've been reading, because like US immigration and customs enforcement plans to conduct 30 days of immigration raids across Los Angeles County. Representative Nanette Barragan, sorry if I butchered it, but the pins and I've just got some little bits and notes and bullet points here, just try and keep up with it. I've said which would continue the sweeps that sparked protests in LA over the weekend, and they suggest the crisis will continue escalating rather than resolving. So I think there could be something in that, and you get the feeling that there is going to be deeper implications, isn't there? Because like the constitutional crisis, this represents a fundamental test of federalism. Can the federal government deploy military force in states that refuse to cooperate with federal immigration policy? Well, we all know that our Donald Trump, he doesn't really care. He will do whatever he thinks and whatever he believes, doesn't he? And then there's the president's precedent setting, just like the deployment could establish precedent for future federal military intervention in domestic disputes, and like the phone call that James O'Brien took earlier on the day where he said, "We'll be sad if it kicks off in New York," because, like he said, he's got a lot of enemies there, so he'll be hoping that it does, and fundamentally altering the balance of federal-state power. So there's political weaponization. Both sides are using this crisis for broader political gain. I would hazard a guess. I would say probably more Donald Trump than Gavin Newsom. That's my personal thought. Because I think he, as Mark Riley said, that he detests the way of life in LA and all that, and the way things are there. So, especially his base do, and the people that live there. So I think it'd probably be more Donald Trump than Gavin Newsom, and with demonstrating federal power, with Newsom building resistant credentials for 2028. So the situation has evolved beyond immigration enforcement into a constitutional confrontation with long-term implications from American federalism and democratic governance. Very interesting, isn't it? So, but anyway, now I found this a bit of an interesting, you could say a bit of an interesting conversation. I get the feeling this happened this morning, but give me a quick. Right. So wrong one. Not the one I were after, but no, it's that one. Yeah, I'll get there. Right. Yeah. So this was an interesting little conversation. Yeah, unfortunately, I'm supposed to be cutting the grass. But this is an interesting conversation where he talks to unfortunately, you haven't listened to Nick for that. But the thing that he did that I just found it a bit naff. I didn't like this because I just think it's only a couple of minutes, but rather interesting.
President Donald Trump's administration sent thousands more troops to Los Angeles on a fourth day of chaotic protests against those immigration raids. Also unrest spreading to other parts of the United States. But let's focus initially on LA and California. Here's a little of the war of words between the state governor Gavin Newsom and President Trump.
The hell is this guy? Come after me, arrest me. Let's just get it over with. Tough guy. The hell are they doing? These guys need to grow up. They need to stop.
He's an incompetent governor. Look at the job he's doing in California. He's destroying one of our great states. And if I didn't get involved, if we didn't bring the Guard in, and we would bring more in if we needed it, because we have to make sure there's going to be law and order. You had a disaster happening.
Well, let's turn to Drexel Hurd II, who's a political strategist and former executive director of the Los Angeles Democratic Party, joining us from Los Angeles. And perhaps I can start, if I may, Mr. Hurd. You'll have been watching the local media, listening possibly to local radio stations. What do you understand to be the situation tonight in your city? Good morning.
Good morning, Nick, and good morning to your listeners. Listen, I think one of the things that Donald Trump thought was going to happen was that there was going to be chaos in Los Angeles. His version of chaos is all made up in his head and has been since January 20th. And what we're seeing are peaceful protests all across the city. Yeah, there's a handful of political agitators, but no more than what we say when the Dodgers won the World Series, the excitement around the city. So I think, Donald Trump is trying to instill fear and using Los Angeles as a test case.
But
Uh,
Drexel, here in London, I'm holding up a copy of the Times, or the London Times, as you would call it, and there on the front page is someone, a protester, waving a Mexican flag from the roof of a burning car surrounded by flames. How would you define that, Drexel?
See, this is the he's trying to act dumb, and he's trying to. Out of all the years he's worked in this business, he knows exactly what. Do you think they're going to go looking round for peaceful protests, for photographs? Sat in a line singing "Kumbaya." He knows exactly what he's doing here. We've heard, but anyway. Good evening, Jeannie Lefty. Hope you're well, my friend. Hope you're well, my friend. Hello, Alistair. I hope. I didn't get notification in my friend. Sorry, it's all right, Alistair. Don't worry about it. I just basically did this off the cuff because, for a simple reason, I had a little bit of time on my hands because my family are out, and yeah, exactly. 1 inch punch bowl is just a punch stretcher. Tucker Carlson. He knows exactly what he's doing here. He's trying to paint it out as though the whole the whole of California and everywhere around it is absolutely in absolute chaos. Like we watched we watched what they call it the politics, or was it stateside yesterday? And they were basically saying, and I've seen other people say the same, it's blown way out of proportion, and he knows exactly what he's doing here. Well, and that's one of the reasons why I don't listen to this guy.
Well, look, I think there's going to be a lot of pockets, where there are going to be political agitators. There's no one who is going to deny that there are agitators in every political protest movement. But that does not mean that what Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth and the federal government are out there saying is reality here in Los Angeles. I was driving around LA today, through Hollywood today, no protests out there. But when downtown earlier this morning, had a peaceful protest, calling for the release of SEIU President David Huerta as he was released this morning. That was a peaceful protest.
I've gone inside of the newspaper now. There's people standing on police cars that have been torched and graffitied. There's an Australian TV journalist who's been shot in the leg, and there's tear gas being deployed by, I think the National Guard on a bridge in Los Angeles. Are you in the same city?
Look, I think that, like I said, that's a great question. No, listen.
I didn't think it was a great question. I just thought he's talking shit. I can't stand the guy.
And I think listen, you can find any portion in any news story and get a great shot of one person that doesn't reflect what's happening across Los Angeles right now, that doesn't reflect the peaceful protests that we've had since Friday, talking about the raids and the aggression that ICE has brought to our city. The governor has called it out, the mayor of Los Angeles has called it out, and leaders all across Los Angeles have called it out. So, listen, it's one thing in the social media world, and I always caution our viewers, as you all know, across the world, one photograph does not indicate a reality, and what Donald Trump has been trying to trump up is not reality.
How is the situation to be diffused, Drexel?
Well, that's a great question. Listen, I think first, ICE has to kind of stop their aggression towards communities, especially our immigrant communities here in Los Angeles. I think the governor and the mayor, the governor of California and the mayor, have to remind the folks and continue to remind the people that political agitators and peaceful protesters are two different people. They need to coordinate with our local law enforcement, LAPD, LASD, our CHP officers, and say, hey, listen, these are the folks you need to focus on. These are the other and peaceful protesters have a First Amendment right to talk about and to protect our communities and talk about what's right. And I think that that's the way that they need to start to handle that situation as it is.
All right.
Like
I'm going to leave it there. You look after yourself, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck off, Nick Ferrari. But hello, Diz, hope you're well. Exactly 1 inch punch bowl. Yeah, LA is massive, and this is happening in a small corner. The majority of LA is operating as normal. Yeah, exactly, Jeannie Lefty. The protests are literally confined to 2 blocks. Yeah, Internet Today. I just explained it. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And let's be honest, he's trying to play thick, isn't he? He knows how they operate in the papers and stuff like that. Because what is their main job? Sell newspapers. They're not going to, and the so-called tear gas smoke. Yeah, exactly. They're not exactly going to sell papers if they've got pictures of people, got flowers in the hair and being all peaceful. Either they want to see disruption and disorder. Get that fantastic picture and paint the picture as though the whole of the California is in flames and he knew exactly he knows exactly what he's doing. And when it comes to the likes of Donald Trump, we all know what he wants to do. Don't we? We all know what he wants to do. And I found this interesting interview with Simon Marks, and which I found quite fascinating. I always find what he has to say very, very interesting anyway. But yeah, I always find what he has to say quite interesting anyway. But just give me a quick minute. I just want to. But yeah, I'm the so-called. Yeah, but I've always found what Simon Marks has to say over there quite interesting already, because for the simple reason he knows exactly what he speaks. I don't know how long he's worked though, but let's be honest, he knows it, and what he had to say was very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. Just give me a quick minute. Yes. It's like, he's desperate. A lot of editing of the so-called right. It's only one area. It's letting Trump get the claim an emergency and cancel the midterm and do martial law, etc. Sly Stone for all the hippies. Yeah, exactly. But and I think, well, what Simon Marks basically says here basically just reiterates what Alistair's just said there.
We should begin, Simon, with a little sort of historic perspective on how significant what Trump has done with regard to California and the National Guard actually is.
Absolutely, James. I mean, you've got to go back 60 years. You've got to go back to 1965 to find any kind of precedent for this. Then President Lyndon Johnson ordered the Alabama National Guard to be federalized and taken over by his government against the opposition of Alabama's Governor George Wallace. And of course, at the time, what LBJ was trying to do was to allow black students to go into schools in Alabama. So that's the only close recent precedent for this. Every single state has its own National Guard, and absolutely the National Guard from various states has been deployed at various times of emergency and challenge in the United States. But since 1965...
Create a voiceover using...
Sorry about that.
Always with the approval of the governor of the state where the Guard is being deployed.
I suppose that's the problem with these longer ones, you know, you're always going to get them ads. But anyway, hello Trip, and hello Terry Regan, hope you're well. Hope you're both very, very well.
And in this case, Donald Trump has completely overridden Governor Gavin Newsom, the prominent Democrat, who of course is the governor of California and almost certainly covets a run for the Democratic Party's presidential nomination in 2028. I think it's important to underscore that there is a real personal battle now underway between Donald Trump and one of the Republican Party's potential challengers in the next presidential election. And this is a move that Gavin Newsom is now appealing. He's urging the federal government to rescind the takeover of his National Guard, now deployed in their hundreds on the streets of Los Angeles, with the capacity, as a result of the president's order, for up to 2,000 members of the California National Guard to be deputized by the federal government to police protests that, and this is really important, James, yesterday Donald Trump described as insurrectionist. That is not a coincidental word. He is itching to use the Insurrection Act of 1807 to flood Los Angeles and potentially other cities and states all over the country with army troops, with the Marine Corps, not just with the National Guard. He actually wants to use the United States Armed Forces that were created, of course, to fight wars overseas on the streets of the United States. He tried to do it back in January of 2020 during the protests over the killing by police in Minneapolis of George Floyd. He was stopped by his then chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Mark Milley, and his then Defense Secretary, Mark Esper, who stood up to Donald Trump and said, no, that's not what the army's for. That, if we get to the stage where he invokes the Insurrection Act, is not going to happen this time around.
Yeah, like I just say, that's basically that's what you were exactly saying, Alistair. He is desperate to basically do whatever he can to stop martial law and the midterms, and because I get the feeling he knows that it will be devastating for him in the midterms, because he's not very popular, is he? And I always think when you'd see these people on these, whether it's TikTok or whatever, or Twitter, you know, basically saying, I never signed up for this. I voted for Trump, but I never said, oh, yes, you did. Yes, you did. He said he was going to do this, didn't he? So, hello, Francis Vinno. All being in meeting. It's all right. Don't worry about it, Francis. The thing is, I just did this off the cuff because, you know, he wants to bring in martial law. Yeah, absolutely. Certainly does, without a shadow of a doubt. But it does get really, really interesting, because they say something that I found quite ironic and fascinating.
I mean, the big question is why? Why does he want to do that? Why would he want to flood the streets with military personnel more used to activity in the Middle East, or more used to activity, as you say, on foreign soil?
Because this is the perfect storm for him. I mean, first of all, let's remember where he was if we can cast our minds back 96 hours, right? He was on the receiving end of all sorts of attention regarding his bust-up with Elon Musk that he really didn't want to keep in the national conversation. So suddenly we learnt here on Saturday that he was going to travel to Camp David on Sunday, surround himself with senior figures in his own government and military advisors and military leaders. That was the first indication that there was a big distraction coming and a big page turn coming. And the page turn is for Donald Trump to take advantage of the fact that you have these protests, he says, by criminal aliens and migrants, although those are by no means the only people protesting his mass deportations on the streets of Los Angeles. You have these protests taking place in a reliably democratic state, a place where only last week he was making plans to halt all federal funding for California. So he's planned to pick this fight with Governor Newsom and the mayor of Los Angeles, Karen Bass. It's an issue, mass deportations, that is wildly popular with his Make America Great Again base. And, I mean, we're going to have to find a new definition in the dictionary, a new word to replace the word irony, because I don't think it actually adequately covers what's happened in the last few hours. Donald Trump has taken to his own social media feed to say, "Arrest the people in face masks now." This is a president who has unleashed on the streets.
I'll just let it get that. But oops. Right.
Of cities all over this country, federal agents masked, refusing to divulge even which agency they work for, who have swept people that they say are illegal immigrants off the streets. We've all seen dramatic videos of that taking place in towns and cities nationwide, and then denied those alleged illegal immigrants the due legal process that the law requires them to be given before, in the case of hundreds of them, they're stuck on planes and flown out of the country, most infamously, of course, to that terrorist detention camp in El Salvador. He is now the man saying, arrest the people in face masks now. The people on the streets are furious, in part because his agents, when they take to the streets and seize people off those streets, are all masked, refuse to divulge their identities, and in some cases, onlookers who have watched what has been taking place have suspected that kidnapping was actually occurring and have challenged federal law enforcement agents, clearly from the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Division of his government and or from the Border Patrol, to unmask themselves and reveal who they are, and they all refuse to do it.
Yeah, you're right. And irony doesn't cover it, does it? It feels like an inadequate description of what you're describing. Final question.
I'm just going to, I'm going to have to work out, you're quite right, Terry Regan, I'm going to have to work out how to use ad block. It's not something I've really considered before. It's like usually on my usual live stream, I usually do, usually on Twitter and what all the content I use on there. So that's something I'll work out. As I say, the only reason why I'm doing this today is because it was just an off the cuff live stream. I just wanted to see how it goes. I had an idea in my head, and to be honest, it's not doing too badly. So I could possibly do one or two more of this. But yeah, you cannot believe the irony, can you? You know, arrest those who are all masked up, saying to those people masked up. And they're not, and they're basically not saying, who do they work for? You couldn't believe it. They couldn't make this up, could you?
And you mentioned the base and their ravenous appetite for these scenes of violence, which, you know, could probably be loosely described as choreographed or at least escalated by Donald Trump. Is there any limit to that? The fracture has to come, doesn't it, between people who hate what they're seeing and people who love it? What's that fracture going to look like?
Well, I'm afraid that we have to let this situation play out. Yes. And the great fear, of course, is that he does flood the zone with troops. I mean, again, last night on social media, looking really bad in LA, he wrote, "Bring in the troops," in all capitals. He is itching for this fight. And clearly, there were protesters last night on the streets of Los Angeles who were engaged in acts of violence against law enforcement, in direct contravention of the pleas of Governor Newsom and Mayor Bass, who urged people not to take the bait from Donald Trump. Some of them have taken the bait. Donald Trump covets a showdown, and in a febrile tinderbox atmosphere like the one that already exists in Los Angeles, protests spread last night to San Francisco. We may see this accelerating across the country. Certainly in the last few weeks, protesters have become increasingly emboldened as they have sought to confront ICE agents as they go about the process of seizing people off the streets to enforce Donald Trump's mass deportation policies. I mean, that's a really dangerous cocktail. And the man in charge in the White House, unconstrained by any of his top officials, because they're all yes men, they're all and women, they're all going to give him exactly what he wants, has the capacity here to accelerate this situation. Gavin Newsom was arguing to inflame it. And, you know, clearly that creates a very combustible atmosphere here. So we have to see how far he's willing to go. Are we going to see violence on the streets where the army is used to use perhaps lethal rounds against protesters on American streets? And how much rope will the Make America Great Again faithful give him?
Now, something I did mean to mention this a little bit earlier because it just popped into my head. You know, when it came to this situation about being a distraction, when this situation with him and Elon Musk, something popped into my head that made me think maybe this has also been a bit of a catalyst. The taco, you know, the taco Trump that's been going around. I wonder if that's something to do with it as well. I wonder if that has really, really irked him. And I think that might be something to do with it as well. What do you guys think? As well as what's been happening with him on Space Karen. But yeah, 6,000 troops plus another 600 Marines. Number I haven't heard banding about, DB. Yeah, good afternoon, Sir Larry. And another one that if please like and subscribe to his channel. He does some fantastic stuff, and he's done some great bits of material for me, and I'm forever grateful. Everybody's wow, a surprise live stream. Yeah, like as I said, I've said before, it was just my family's out, they're all doing whatever, so I'm sat in my house in my Jack Jones, so I just thought I'd basically do something to keep my mind occupied. But yeah, I'm wondering if that taco Trump has really got under his skin, and I think maybe that's a little bit in there as well.
A brief word, if you would, Simon, on Terry Moran over at ABC News and what that tells us about the state of play in our profession.
Now, Terry Moran, he's that guy who did the interview, you know, when he tried to convince him, tell him that that guy who's in El Salvador, in one of them prisons, he's part of that gang. I've forgotten the name of him now, but he had it on his knuckles. Now he said something that was, he said, Steve Miller, you know, that horrible individual is full of hate, in a tweet of some sort. I haven't seen it myself, but he's been suspended.
Well, look, I'm a great admirer of Terry Moran. I think that this is a terribly sad twist for his career. He has been, for a very long time, one of the most erudite and responsible television journalists in this city and indeed in this country. I think he made a mistake. I think that it is unfortunate that he said what he said on Twitter, on X rather. But what is completely inappropriate in Terry Moran's situation is for the White House to be contacting his employer, ABC News, and putting pressure on them to hold Terry Moran accountable. They were already engaged in the process of accountability. They would have suspended him anyway because of what he wrote. I mean, you can argue about the general sentiments that he was expressing about White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller. Many people in this country would agree with what Terry Moran said.
His own uncle has gone further on the record.
His own uncle agrees with what Terry Moran has said. I mean, I think the difficulty with what Terry Moran wrote was where he said, you can just see it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That to me is the phrase that ultimately got him into difficulty. But, you know, it's a lesson to all of us in terms of the use of social media. But also it's an indicator of the fact that this White House has absolutely no respect whatsoever for the First Amendment, for the Fourth Estate, and is going to put the arm in a continuing way on what it dismissively refers to as the legacy media. In this case, adding weight to what may end up proving to be a career-ending error the part of one of the most prominent television reporters here.
What if creating privacy policy?
Yes. Now, and I've not seen the tweet, what he wrote, so I can't really say whether I agree with Simon Marks on that or not. But yeah, I have to agree with what he said about why the White House trying to put pressure on CBN, well, whatever they call them, to suspend the guy. That is just full fascism, isn't it? That is out the Nazi playbook, isn't it? Yeah, Stephen Miller looks like someone asked AI to print a bad guy. Oh, Jesus Christ, yeah. Stephen Miller stroking a white cat. Yeah, I know what you mean. And be a good boy. He just called him hateful, nothing more. Yeah, that's what I'd heard, yeah. For all the things you say, for a left-leaning tack look at the Bin podcast, yeah, they do some fantastic stuff on there, and I wholeheartedly agree with Alistair. Please go and subscribe. Always agree with Simon. Exactly. I totally agree, Simon says 55. But absolutely mental, aren't they? Absolutely. You just, it's, you would, if you looked at America now, the way things happening, you know, with all the, what's the word I'm after? The rioting. Well, I think that it's overblown what's been happening, but the way the government had acted, well, the administration, you would think that, hello, Jim Stephen, hope you're well, my friend. You would see that sort of thing happening in some sort of developing country, wouldn't you? But not in America. You would hardly expect to see that in America. and the way this administration is behaving over, let's just say, with immigration, it's just disturbing to watch, isn't it? I would feel incredibly uncomfortable if I took a trip over to America now. I would feel incredibly uncomfortable, and I certainly won't be going to anywhere near America over the next few years, especially with this administration. I feel like Stephen Miller is a hologram or something. He just has that look of one of those Westworld robots. Is that film with Uri Geller? No, not Uri Geller, you fucking idiot. Yul Brenner. Uri fucking Geller. What an idiot. Yeah, can't chat much. The likes 26 watching. That's not bad. I haven't done bad. Not done bad for just a quick off the cuff live stream. And So I'm happy with that, especially the first one on a Tuesday afternoon, because on Tuesdays my wife, she does go over to her mum and dad. So yeah, they made I thought it was. Yeah, I know what you mean. Stephen Miller looks like an evil CP3. I was looking forward to go to the USA, but not from about 10 years now. Yeah, no chance in my eyes. Not a chance. No chance. I will not go anywhere near America for the next... But the thing is, do you honestly think that with the behaviour that's happened over the weekend, I seriously doubt that he will give up that presidency in 2028. Don't be surprised if he does his absolute level best to make any excuse for martial law to make sure that there's no election in 2028. I think the only way they'll get him out there is two ways. Either in a box or kicking and screaming and he's dragged out. Because I don't think he'll go willingly. He's just that way. Maybe do a live on Tuesday, seeing you all on and think it's an idea to go for. Yeah, well, like as I said, Dad's last gets home, goes to make a cup of tea, bent all those spoons down. Yeah. It was you, Bremner, that did all them. I mean, Uri Geller. Uri Geller, what an idiot I am sometimes. Yeah, I'm in agreement. Yeah, because like you remember the last election, he what happened? That was just mad because he just lives for chaos, doesn't he? Absolutely lives for it. Time for the 25th Amendment. Trump needs meds. Absolutely. Totally agree, my dear friend, Dave McGuinness. Right. Anyway, let's. I have another little story I have for you, which was just interesting. It's like I'll say my wife is in the taxi now, so, but it's not as long as what would happen as normal. So, but it's an interesting story. But let me. Copy. But yeah, let's. This is. Yes. So yeah, this is as we know that a certain young lady, as we know, a certain young lady has, let's just say, has really embarrassed the Israeli government, hasn't she? Oh yes. And yes, it's Greta Thunberg. Now, I don't want you intelligent folk in there saying, DB, you're saying a name wrong. Get it right or else. That's it. I'm going to unsubscribe and never watch any of you. No, I'm only kidding. But yeah. But all the things from Scottish perspective. Yeah, exactly. Cheers for that, Alistair. Yeah. Please subscribe to the two Davies. They do some brilliant stuff. And if nothing else, you every now and again you get an absolute legendary Dave McGuinness rant. And when he goes on a rant, it's a joy to behold. and woe betide if anybody gets in his wrath. But yes, because like a certain young lady, she'd let me get a couple of notes up. Yeah, because like so her and 11 other activists sailed on the Madeline boat from Sicily on June the 1st, carrying humanitarian aid, flour, and rice, baby formula, medical supplies, all that hateful warmongering stuff, intended for Gaza. And the group was part of the Freedom Flotilla coalition, and aiming to break Israel's naval blockade of Gaza and deliver aid during the humanitarian crisis. And Israel forces intercepted the boat in international waters and brought the activists to Israel, port in Ashdod. Sorry if I don't. And they actually did. This is just mental. They detained them and actually taken to a migrant detention centre facility in Ramleh, then to Ben Gurion Airport. Sorry if I butchered it, for deportation. And the Israeli authorities apparently showed them footage of the October the 7th Hamas attack, which the activists refused to watch. Well, because for simple... I'm not surprised, because, let's be honest, why would they want to watch any of their propaganda now, after a year and a half now, and what's been happened now? Apparently, Thunberg and 3 others have signed deportation documents, and they've been released, with Thunberg flying to France before she's going to be returning to Sweden. And 8 of the activists have refused to sign deportation papers and remain detained, facing potential court proceedings. So, and of course, the Freedom Flotilla Coalition called it an unlawful kidnapping and violation of international law, because I just don't really understand why they would do it, But what do we expect from the Israeli government now? Because France Foreign Ministry confirmed their council met with the detained French nationals, and an expert quoted from what I were reading, Israel's response was an overreaction. No shit, Sherlock, is it really? The incident has sparked a lot of international debate, about freedom of navigation and humanitarian aid access. And I think it's been a bit of a decent success. It keeps the war, well, I won't call it a war, it's more of a genocide now, isn't it? In the news, and I think what she was trying to achieve, I think there's been a good level of success. The only downside is that they didn't get the humanitarian aid through. So, but anyway, here's little bit of a video about this.
There's a drone right above us.
Israeli special forces surrounded and boarded the Madeleine around 3 a.m. on Monday morning as it approached the coast of Gaza.
Right now they're jamming our comms. They are saying random stuff just to jam our communication. They are doing this so that we cannot get help.
The activists have claimed that the yacht was still in international waters at the time and that the Israeli operation was illegal.
Ditch the phone! Ditch the phone! Ditch the phone! Yes. Phones in the water, please!
One of the last images broadcast by the activists showed them throwing their phones in the water and wearing life jackets, seated and with their hands in the air. And Greta Thunberg pre-recorded this statement in the event that the boat was boarded.
I urge all my friends, family and comrades to put pressure on the Swedish government to release me and the others as soon as possible.
The Israeli government released video of soldiers handing water and sandwiches to the 12 activists on board. The atmosphere appeared calm and under control. Israel has described the boat as the selfie yacht and criticised the activists for carrying out a publicity stunt to raise their own profiles.
Greta was not bringing aid, she was bringing herself. And she's not here for Gaza, let's be blunt about it. She's here for Greta. You know, poor Greta, she's been...
Yeah, I've noticed that what a vile individual this crank is. Vile. I fucking hate this guy. How? Yeah. Yeah, I've noticed that they're trying to paint them as they're only doing it for themselves. Awful, vile individual. I'll be back in a minute. I'm just going to open the door because my beloved is in a taxi home. I'll be back in a bit.
She's alienated half of the world with this crying wolf, and now she's looking for her next bandwagon. This was a PR stunt, sailing under the flag of moral vanity.
Hamas released a statement praising the activists on board the Madeleine and demanding their immediate release. Most European governments have remained quiet as the situation has played out. In Gaza, the humanitarian crisis is worsening as aid struggles to get in and there is daily violence close to the distribution points.
Ya Allah, Ya Allah.
6 Palestinians were said to have been killed today as they waited for food. Reports from Gaza say that a local militia, armed by Israel, opened fire and then retreated into IDF-controlled areas. The desperation for food is now leading towards a total breakdown of security. Alistair Bunkle, Sky News, in Ashdod.
Do you want to discover how I got over 1 million?
Yeah, whatever. Now, yeah, exactly, Francis Winnow. She scares a lot of men. So because I get that there's a little bit of because I think that she does what most of us know that. Hello, Olivia Brown, hope you're well. Yeah, I love Greta. She's brilliant, isn't she? Because I think she embarrasses a lot of these men because she does what they don't have the guts to do. And also, I think there's that little bit of misogyny as well, because there could be that little bit of shouldn't you be in the kitchen making a Sunday roast type attitude? Yeah, exactly, Alistair. They called it the selfie boat. Yeah, and all my military and navy knowledge is from Star Trek. Is that what the Israeli courts are going to charge them of, operating a selfie boat? Yeah, exactly. See, the thing is for me, when it comes to this, I think the reason why they are not happy is because there was a bit of a story that there were a bit of a stunt, because like when I was listening to James O'Brien, well, I was just getting a bit of material, for this, surprise little quick live stream. And he basically got on about this, and basically has this achieved what it wanted to do. David McGuinness, Nicola Sturgeon scared men too. Well, she certainly kicked Boris Johnson's backside when he took a trip up to Scotland, didn't she? Took no nonsense from that complete belt up. So I agree with you there, Dave McGuinness. But he basically said he got on about a certain story. About a boat called the Mavi Marmara, an incident, and the diplomatic crisis that it caused between Israel and Turkey. And basically, Israeli commandos boarded 6 ships in international waters with violence erupting on the largest vessel, the Mavi Marmara, and the exact sequence of who initiated the violence remains disputed between Israel and Turkey. Now, apparently, when the shooting started, the Israeli cameras suddenly went off. What a shocker. Who'd have thunk it, eh? She knew she was their equal. I think she were more than their equal. I think she just absolutely... I think she's an absolute crying shame that she's still not... in politics today, I suppose. But yeah, it's the same with Madeleine. The flotilla's purpose was that the ship was carrying 10,000 tons of humanitarian aid to Gaza and attempting to break the Israeli-Egyptian blockade. And the activists also aimed to highlight what they viewed as the illegal nature of the blockade. So yeah, and the incident drew, again, widespread condemnation and multiple investigations by the UN, Israel and Turkey with varying conclusions about the legality and proportionality of Israel's actions. And when I was reading, good evening, hello, Stuart Laird and One Angry Penguin. It's all right, one angry pagan. I just basically did this live stream off the cuff because I just had a little idea in my head and I just wanted to try out. I didn't want to basically put date and it all falls to shit. So it's all right. I'll probably do more of these because I think it's not done bad. It hasn't done bad actually. Bit more preparation and I'll be happy. But yeah, see, the thing is, the Israeli government, as you would expect, played the victim. Oh, and being anti-Semitic and whatever. But yeah, that was in 2010. See, the thing is, the reason why they're having a go at her for being this celebrity, because like when I listen to the James O'Brien show, and I think they're onto something, it's because they couldn't do what they wanted to do on the what the name of the boat now? The Mavi Marmara. I think that's because they knew they couldn't do it, and that's all it is. Because if Greta Thunberg went on that boat, can you imagine what they would have been like? That's the reason why they're calling it the selfie boat, because they couldn't get away with what they wanted to do. Yeah. And I think there is something in that. I honestly do. I honestly think there is something in that. Now, apparently the diplomatic consequences about all this was that the incident severely damaged Israeli-Turkish relations, leading to expelled ambassadors, cancelled military exercises and legal proceedings against Israeli commanders in Turkish courts. But from what I can gather, they seem to have they did seem to kiss and make up in 2013 over a phone call. Brokered by President Obama, followed by a 2016 normalization agreement that included Israeli compensation and Turkey legislative protections of Israeli troops. You know, these organisations that were doing this humanitarian aid. You'll never guess what the Israeli government said. Oh, they were supporting Hamas, and they were going at. They were basically just shitting all over them and smearing them, as they do. But what do you expect from Israeli government? Now, I don't really venture that much into what happens between Israel and Palestine, because what I really know about it, I could, basically write on the back of a stamp and still have enough to put my name, address, my phone number, and my sex life and my life as a whole. But one thing I do believe, that this Israeli government has done far more damage to the Jewish community than what ever Hamas could ever amount to do. But yeah, that's why. Can you imagine what they'd have done if Greta Thunberg wasn't on that boat? I bet it wouldn't have been as diplomatic as it would have, as it happened in 2010. Certainly wasn't. I think that's what the reason why they're not happy is because of who she is. But what do you guys think? Do you know what? I've quite enjoyed the last hour or so. And it's been quite a success. Yeah, no, it was an impromptu live stream, because the only reason why I did it was because I had time on my hand and I just wanted to, keep my mind active. So, as I say, I will finish the live stream here, because my wife and my eldest are now home. So I'm going to say thanks for stopping by and keeping me occupied for an hour and 20 odd minutes. So cheers for stopping by. Have a lovely day, and I will just say take care, my friends, and look after yourself. See you later, man.